The most important thing I want to tell you is that the sweet spot can move. Just because you're aiming for something doesn't mean that when you get there, it's actually what you want.
Welcome to Brave. Learn from Southeast Asia's best tech leaders. Build the future, learn from our past, and stay human in between. No BS on success. I'm Jeremy Au, venture capitalist, serial founder, Harvard MBA, science fiction nerd, and dad of 2 daughters. Every week, we debate startup news, interview changemakers, answer listener questions, and share personal insights. Join our movement of over 40,000 members and get transcripts, resources, and community at www.bravesea.com. Stay well and stay brave.
I want to talk to you about your professional success, being a professional failure, and I want to share with you about being a personal failure versus a personal success. Growing up, I loved Anthony Bourdain because you can see this guy, he's so cool, he's out traveling the places, eating food, he's famous, he wrote his book, and the more you dug into his story, the more fantastic it was. He was somebody who grew up, he became a chef, he only succeeded when he was 40 plus, when he wrote a book, Kitchen Confidential. It's a fantastic story of somebody who went through much professional failure in his early career and then eventually became a professional success. And so it's a wonderful story they have. And I looked at him and said, wow, who wouldn't want to have this life? To be flown around the world, to sit down with Obama and eat a bowl of pho in Hanoi. Isn't that a wonderful life? And if you look at the biographies of the book, one of the things that you realize was that he was a very sad person, where people around the world all love him, but he doesn't feel loved, and he feels that he must get that love from somebody who doesn't love him. So he died alone and unhappy. So this is a horrible life, because how can he be someone who's at a peak of professional success that all of us respect, but he dies sad and alone, insane. When you have all that money, you can hire 1 million friends. You can do whatever you want, and he ends his life. What I'm trying to tell you here is that this is an interesting story that you need to be thoughtful about the role models that you look at, right? Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Hillary Clinton, these are all professional successes because these are people that we know, right? But I also challenge you to be thoughtful about your personal failure, your personal success. What does it mean for you to be happy? What does it mean for you to be healthy? What does it mean to have a good family, to feel loved, to love? Because if you're thoughtful about those things, then you can avoid that career ambition treadmill that you have. Anthony Bourdain ended in a spot that I'm pretty sure that if you had gone back to his early 40s, he said, hey, do you want to die alone and unloved? I'm 100%, and I would like to live a long and happy and healthy life, right? No brainer. Somebody who is at the top of his game, with all the financial resources, with the love of the world, with an international brand name, can still make the wrong decisions, even though he's thinking to the best of his capability, into a corner of the maze where it's a dead end. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's important for you to be a personal success first, and then a professional success. Because that will give you the career longevity, that will give you the health, it will give you the perseverance to make it over the long term and succeed as a person, but also succeed as an executive. I'm not a perfect person on these dimensions, but I warn myself over and over again about those sacrifices. And that ties into Ikigai, the Japanese word for the reason for being. Some of you have already seen this in your Instagram. But what does it mean? It means that in your career, you should be thinking about 4 major dimensions in your career, right? Which is, what do you love to do? What are you good at? What you can be paid for? And what the world needs. If you love doing something and you're good at it, it's a passion of yours. You're good. But it may be something that people don't want to pay for. Maybe the world doesn't need you to play the guitar badly, for example. Not about being passionate and playing the guitar badly, right? Because it's something you enjoy. Sometimes a lot of people will choose to do what you love to do. Some of you also try to go for what the world needs, and so there will be a mission that you go for, whether it's non-profit or social enterprise or government, there may be a mission, may not pay well. Some of you will be working in jobs that you can get paid for, the banks will pay and so forth, and then you're good at it because you've been practicing for it, it will be a profession, but it may not be something that you love, or maybe it's something that you love. What I'm trying to say here is that you want to end up in a spot where you're in a sweet spot. The most important thing I want to tell you is that the sweet spot can move. Just because you're aiming for something doesn't mean that when you get there, it's actually what you want. So when I was a consultant at Bain, I said to myself, I want to be a social entrepreneur and a founder. I got there, it was a good spot for many years. Then I said, I want to do something else. The spot moved, right? And then when I was a Harvard MBA, I said to myself, I want to do this. I became a founder again in the US, got paid for it, And then it changed, right? So I decided that I want to come back to Southeast Asia because that's where my family is. I want to raise my kids in Singapore, so that's my choice. The Ikigai can shift. So don't look at this as a static thing. The world is changing quite tremendously in terms of what you can be paid for. 2 years ago, you could be paid for marketing and creating a Facebook post. Today, ChatGPT does it. The world will no longer pay you to write a Facebook post. They'll only pay you if you can manage the ChatGPT bot that pays for the marketing posts. So things can change dramatically, and they will change multiple times in the next few stages of your career. And I want to share with you the story of Ray Jefferson, which is a person I shared over WhatsApp, the story. And I got to meet him about 3 months ago, and he shared his life story, and it was a tremendous moment because I wasn't expecting much, but to hear this guy about how he grew up as an immigrant in America and how he had this dream of being in the military, how his life changed when he decided to try to protect the lives of his teammates by holding a grenade that was malfunctioning and losing his left hand and destroying his Special Forces career, was inspiring. It was something to hear him describe his personal story about how he had that experience of knowing that the grenade is malfunctioning and trying to make a decision about where to throw it and realizing there's nowhere to throw it, and him deciding to hold the grenade to protect the lives of his teammates. A practice grenade exploded in his hand, not a full grenade, but he held it by his hand and he lost his hand. And he spent years depressed and in recovery in the hospital, getting his hand put together. And that was just a crazy sacrifice to make. And so he went off and he rebuilt his life, and he decided to go into graduate school, and he decided to apply for a graduate program, and he was able to get into Harvard Kennedy School and Harvard for his MBA. And he was very happy. He built a new life and he decided to enter public service. And in the story that I shared on WhatsApp, he joined the Obama administration. He decided to fire 2 people out of the entire agency, and after they were fired, he tried to do the right thing, let them have a graceful exit period. They did a whistleblower complaint against him, and he lost his job. He shared a story about how he resigned because his boss told him so, and he thought he was going to fix it. And the next day, he woke up in the morning, and his phone was buzzing because his friends were saying, "Hey, your boss is doing a press conference about you." And his boss was basically saying that this guy had conducted fraud and corruption, and he had never done any of those things. And it took him 8 years to fight the government with his own lawyers and own savings to clear his name. And so this guy didn't do the right or wrong thing. He just did what he thought he had to do, and he got unfairly injustice, and he was unable to find a job. So many jobs he couldn't do at Egon Zedner or other places, and he unfortunately wasn't able to do that. So he had to move to Singapore. He moved across the world to figure out his next steps and build that. He was sharing about how he cried, how he saved money, paid the legal fees. It took him 8 years, imagine 8 years of your life, proving to everybody that he did not commit those things. So, horrible, but eventually he succeeded. And so the good news he was sharing with us, and the reason why he was talking to us, was that 4 years ago, he was able to clear his name, and he was able this year to talk about his life. And Harvard had published a publication about his life, and this year was the first year of his life where he was being able to be public about that story and about that story. So it's documented by Harvard. That was the context of where we met him 3 months ago. He died from a heart attack. I was inspired by him, a fantastic role model. He finally is innocent. He goes on holiday with his girlfriend, and he dies from a heart attack. And he died right after checking out of his hotel. So imagine you spend all this time, and all of us in that room, when we found out that he died, we were so disappointed because we felt that this was his time to shine. Finally, getting a hand blown up by finding a new career. Unfairly fired, got your name cleared, and now he's dead. And so all of us, just 2 weeks ago, were at his funeral, in memorial service, and there was just so much love from all 50 of us. Some of us knew him very well, some of us did not know him very well, but all of us agreed that he was a fantastic human being who did a great job taking care of the people around him. And this is an inspirational person for so many people. And so what I'm trying to say is this: I think all of you will be making decisions about your career, and there's absolutely no guarantee that your career is going to go well. I cannot promise you that, and I'm not going to pretend I can. I guarantee you that in your career in the future, you will face tough times, and you will face injustice, and you will have to confront politics and be ostracized and judged. You will feel like shit, face bad luck, and curse those moments. I cannot promise you a fair career, but I can promise you will face unfair moments. The most important thing is to be thoughtful about not only your career, but also about your own perspective on life, which is what makes John, what makes Sarah, what makes you. Those are the things that are really most important to you, because all of us, we're all going to die one day. And no matter how many PowerPoints or memos you do, no one's going to remember you on a tombstone and say, he generated 500 PowerPoints in his life. Good job. And he got honors degree at this college. When it's your memorial service, we're going to remember, were you kind? Were you human? Were you somebody that people looked up to? Those are things that people will remember your name for. So on that perspective, what I'm trying to say here is you need to be thoughtful about your career, your perspective of the future, and you need to stay in touch with the values that are important to you. Thank you so much, and wish you all a fantastic chapter ahead. I pray and hope that you have a successful career. I pray and hope that you have a successful journey. I hope that you all have a great human life ahead.
Thank you for listening to Brave. If you enjoyed this episode, please share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. We would also appreciate you leaving a rating or review. Head over to www.bravesea.com for member content, resources, and community. Stay well and stay brave.